Everybody, this is Rock Queen 71 coming at you live from my headquarters in Oklahoma. How's it going? It's Tuesday. And you know what else it is today? It's my mother's 82nd birthday. Woo! Time to celebrate. How about that? 82 years old. I only pray to God that I will make it that far. Thanks for joining me on my stream, guys. I truly appreciate it. I had a little mini video before asking you to decide on whether we should have the stream outside live or inside the studio. And, well, we're outside live. How about that? Yeah. Sometimes you just gotta feel the dirt and the grass between your toes. You know? So, yesterday was, the anniversary of my father's death. He's been dead for 38 years. Time does go by pretty quick. You know, it doesn't seem like it's 38 years. And so yesterday's stream, I was talking to you guys about the relationship I had with my father, and alcohol was a big problem. And I'm not blaming my father for my affliction, my disease of alcohol and addiction. Okay? I had my choice and I chose left. All right? And I just want to bring this up. How can I bring this up? I wasn't trying to put my father in a bad light. I truly wasn't. My father was a good man. Despite his character defects, in spite of his shortcomings, he felt remorseful for a lot of things that happened in his alcoholism. He had plenty of regrets. He did get right with God, and I know that for a fact because my distant cousin Ronnie is a Baptist minister, and he gave my father a Bible and stuff like that, and he did pray with him and towards the end of his life and all that stuff. So if you guys feel like I was like trying to like bash my father for everything he did and with our relationship, no. I forgave my father, okay? And like I said, he was remorseful. And he is living vicariously through me with my journey of sobriety, recovery, and me helping others. So in a way, he's my backup. You know? Um, so I love my father very much still. You know, I just wish he could have just seen more with me physically here on this earth, not from up there. You know what I mean? So anyway, enough of that. My mom doesn't have YouTube. And all that, but so I dedicate this YouTube stream for her. It's her 82nd birthday. I wish I was there with her celebrating her birthday back in Jersey. This time when I called, there, you know, it was a different person at the desk, right? And it was the guy I talked to a few times before, and I said, "Well, this is Vicky. You know, can I speak to, you know, Karen?" And all, you know, and he's like, "You're her daughter, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." Well, she's playing bingo right now. I'll have her call you back. I'm like, okay, fine. You know, so I think they got the message from the CEO saying, if Vicky so-and-so calls, you listen to her. You better, let her talk to her mother. So I was waiting and stuff, and, an hour passed. And I'm like, are they going to call me, or do I have to call them back? And I was getting a little agitated. I'm not going to lie. Yeah, because I kept looking at the time. I'm like, oh my God, she should be out of bingo by now, and blah, 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 right? So, the phone rang. I was like, oh, could it be? And yes, it was. And so I picked up the phone, and I heard some people in the background and all that stuff. And, they finally got my mother on the phone. Jonathan, the guy at the desk, says, I'm going to give you a seat where you can get more privacy, be more comfortable, and all that stuff, right? And all that. And she said hi, and I said, hi, Ma. But then she said something that really threw me off, and I was like, oh my God, no. She's like, how did you get this number? I'm like, Ma, I've been calling this number. So her memory is like, Tommy, like a few years ago, the power of attorney says, oh, I don't think she has dementia. She's just, depressed and all this stuff. But I see it. I mean, I hear it. Especially now when she says, well, how did you get this number? I mean, but she said my name, okay, and all that stuff. And she said, I miss you. I'm like, I miss you too, Mom. I love you. Happy birthday. Did you get my gifts? And she said, yeah. And I'm really hoping she did, okay, guys? Because when your parent or a loved one is in a nursing home, these people steal stuff. I'm not talking about the patients either. I'm talking about, the employees, okay? So I said, oh, did you get the shirt? I said, the shirt, the shirt slogan is you, Mom. And the shirt slogan should be me too, where it says, if my mouth doesn't say it, my whole face does. You know, I should get that shirt for myself too. Actually, and she got the brownies and everything, and I want to get her flowers and all that because they died within what 3 days. So I didn't go with that. I just went on Amazon and all that stuff. And I told her about Jim. I said, Jim wishes you a happy birthday. He left for work. You know, he works nights and she said, well, I love him too, and I miss him too, and you know, and we were on the phone really a little bit longer than usual. You know, usually it's about like a 5-minute phone call and saying bye, whatever. But this time was different. And I sang happy birthday to my mother. I said, I want to sing happy birthday to you, Mom. And she said, yeah, okay. You know, and so I sang happy birthday to her. And I thanked her for all the tough love she gave me. And it made me the woman I am now. And I love her so much. And I thanked her for doing what she did for my kids. And all that. And just, it's really humid out here. And we talked about my grandmother. I forget about what though. My grandmother came up and it was just a real nice conversation. You know. Oh, I did ask her, I said, did they sing happy birthday to you? And she said yes. I said, oh, that's good. And then I said, well, did you win that bingo? She said, no, I never won that bingo. I said, oh, yeah, well, I said, yeah, the game's rigged, right, Ma? The game's rigged. And she said, I guess so. And then I told her, I said, well, you have to tell the CEO or the staff there to put in a couple of slot machines. You know, like play slot machines, okay? And all that. Because we used to go to AC a lot. My mom used to go to AC a lot. My grandmother did with the seniors and all that. And that's what brought up my grandmother. She said, you remember Grandma used to go to Atlantic City? I'm like, yeah. I said, you know, once a month, every Thursday or whatever. And she said, yeah, how do you remember all this? Like, I said, Ma, I did a lot of drugs in my time, but my brain's not fried. And she laughed at that. And so, maybe you know what? Maybe as a joke, or I should call the CEO saying, is it all right if I just get a slot machine, like a play slot machine, and they can put it in the lobby or something? You know, that'd be something, huh? Yeah. So she was laughing, you know, and she was happy to hear from me, and I wasn't stressed out as I usually am when I call that place, you know. So she's 82. And I really want to see her before something happens. And please don't let it happen within the next couple months. That's where my guilt comes in. That's where my guilt comes in. Where she's back in Jersey, in a nursing home. My mother-in-law died in her house. And I'm not saying my mother should be here, okay? That's not realistic. Okay? She's being taken care of, I hope. She's being taken care of. You know, she's around people. She's active, you know, in the nursing home, right? That's all I should be happy with right now, right? But it's like I think back to, you know, when my father was dying, right? Because yesterday was the anniversary of my father's death. 38 years gone from my life. She took me from Jersey to Winston-Salem, North Carolina, right? 2 weeks before he died. She didn't have to do that. She didn't have to do that. But because my dad was my dad, she decided, okay, I'm going to drive you to North Carolina to see your father on his deathbed. She even got him a carton of cigarettes, you know, Winston Lights. Right? She didn't have to do that. But I think my grandmother and a few other people saying, you better take her, because if he dies, and all that, you're going to regret it. So she took me down to see him. And there's some bonding time between my mom and me too, you know. My mother did the best she could. And yes, she had help from my grandparents. Okay? But I will tell you this. I had a good childhood growing up, despite certain things that happened. I loved the vacations we went on, like to Virginia Beach, and that's a story in itself. We went to Williamsburg, to Busch Gardens in Virginia, and we got into an accident there. And I was sitting in the back seat, and a evangelist with jet black hair, okay, and he had a Cadillac, all right. And his wife had, you know, hot siren red hair, you know, Southern Baptists, okay, preachers. And so, they bumped into the back of us and all that. And so, you know, they're like, oh, we're so sorry for Vicky and all, you know, whatever. Because I was in the back, and you know they thought I needed to go to the hospital. I said no, I don't need to go to the hospital, whatever. But they wanted to. They actually, when we got back to the hotel, they called us and said, "Well, how's Vicky doing?" And oh, she's fine. Oh, well, we must meet up for dinner or whatever. That never happened. I think they did that so. You know, they wouldn't get sued. Oh, Flitchy and the sea air knocked me out. Um, I guess they call it the hole. My mom's looking for me, saying where, she's looking for me and something. She got inside the boat, right? The hull or whatever it's called, right? And so she saw me laying down, and she asked this guy with his son, "Is she okay?" And fine.